Hey guys, let's talk about the potential that the United States is currently under attack by Iran. I'll wait until you guys get into the room. Let me know you're here by commenting in the chat and by giving me a thumbs up. I don't see I don't see any thumbs up yet. I don't see anybody in the room, so I will wait for just a little bit before I start getting into the topic. So we'll wait for you guys. Nobody's here yet, so all right, I'll just go ahead and get into it. So, the United States and Syria, U.S. forces in Syria, have been experiencing a massive increase in hostilities from the Iranian regime, right? Earlier this month, there were two sea rams that were taken out by Iranian militias, and there have been an increase in suicide drone attacks against United States forces in the region. Just yesterday, the United States in Deir ez-Zor, I think it was at the Conoco gas field, took out an Iranian drone. It was a surveillance drone, and you know the Iranians have this drone called the Shahed. It has an effective range of about 2,000 kilometers. And they also have economic agreements with Venezuela right now to develop their oil fields off the coast and to operate those oil fields. Now, that being said, the Venezuelan coastline is about 2,000 kilometers from New York City. So, if, let's just say, potentially, Iran brought some of those Shahed drones to the coastline of Venezuela, they would have the capability to attack one of our cities as far away as New York City, and just draw a 2,000 kilometer arc from New York City, from the Venezuelan coast to New York City, and that is the size of the target that they would be able to hit from the Venezuelan coastline. So, you know, uh, Iran has definitely been ramping up their attacks against us, especially in Syria this month. And we know that they have sleeper cells in the United States. And because they are working with the Venezuelans, we also know that they have the capability to penetrate our border, right? And so these sleeper cells would have the uh, charge of sabotaging our infrastructure, right? That's what they would be doing, right? And in the last month, 2 months, we've seen a massive increase in the amount of sabotage that has occurred, right? We saw the Colonial Pipeline burst open in the east, right? Keystone XL burst open in Kansas, right? Just the other day, there was a problem with one of the gas lines in California, right? These things, you go on and on. I think just this year alone, we've had almost 100 attacks on substations, right? Countless food processing plants have gone up in flames, right? You're seeing all of these chemical spills all across the nation, right? Kissimmee, Florida is up in flames today, right? That is a nursery supply company. A nursery supply company, they supply people with plastic planters to grow trees and stuff like that, right? These are things that are related to our agricultural independence, our agricultural, stability, right? Things that we would need to be self-sustaining during, some kind of an economic downturn, right? Nitric acid is used for fertilizers, right? There was a nitric acid spill right outside of Tucson just the other day, right? You had another chemical tank in Oklahoma that went up in flames. So, all of the chemicals that spilled in Ohio the other day were related to PVC, the manufacturing of plastics, which who knows what their ultimate use would have been. I attempted to reach out to the train or to Norfolk Southern to get the manifest. I want to know where did that the PVC come from, or not PVC, the vinyl chloride, a precursor to PVC. Where did the vinyl chloride come from? We know it came from Illinois, right? But what was the origin? What was the manufacturer? And where was it going to? I want to know what was it going to be used for? This information is critical, and it hasn't even been released yet, right? I tried to reach out to Piedmont Plastics because Piedmont Plastics is in Illinois, and nothing. I'm not getting any information on who it came from, where is it going to, right? This information is critical to know, okay? Because if the Iranians are sabotaging our infrastructure, sabotaging our critical infrastructure and our supply chains, we need to know what it is that they are attacking, right? We had another train derailment in Michigan, right? And then I haven't verified, but there was another one that I heard about that happened in Texas. I'm here in Texas, right? I got a friend that works at the for the train station. So, yes, there's a possibility. There's a good possibility. All of these things happening are not just a coincidence, right? Iran's ramping up their attacks against us in Syria. They're supplying our enemies with drones, right? They said just yesterday, they said that there are 90 nations that are lining up to purchase their Shahed kamikaze drones. This is because the Russians have displayed the effectiveness of these drones in Ukraine. I'm sorry, Tab. Let me go back to see what you were saying. I can't see the. All right, let's see. Aren't there supposed to be empty cars in between the full cars and separating acids from bases and different routes than through residential areas? I don't know, Tab. I don't know, but that would certainly make sense, don't you think? I know one of our group members, the Freedom Restoration Foundation, said that a lot of these train derailments are occurring along fault lines. Is there potential that there have been earthquakes that have gone unreported? I don't know. I don't know. It's definitely something worth looking into. Now, my question for you guys is, what do you think about all of these things that have been happening in the last 2 months? What rabbit hole do you think we ought to go down to look into these things? What are your suspicions regarding all of this? Because we've got so many man-made earthquakes. Yeah, it could be man-made earthquakes. There's technology to do that, but needless to say, all of these things, all of these coincidences happening at the same time is very suspicious. You've got tens of thousands of people coming through the southern border all at the same time as these sabotages are going on, right? So could some terrorist cells be coming through? Yes, absolutely. Let's see what Tracy says. One of the chemicals was supposed to be stored at very low temps. It's suspicious. Yeah, I would definitely say it's suspicious. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the byproducts that could occur from these chemicals being incinerated. Now, when you burn plastics, like what's going on in Kissimmee, and when you burn these precursors to plastics like vinyl chloride, you get a lot of toxic chemicals being released into the environment, like PCBs, furans, mercury, and dioxins. And if you've been subscribed to my channel for any amount of time, you've heard me harp on dioxin for literally for years. I've been talking about dioxins for a long time and how dioxins can be used as a chemical weapon of mass destruction by terrorist organizations, especially like Iran, right? Why is that? Because dioxins are major industrial pollutants, right? And when people are exposed to dioxins, it destroys the DNA's ability to replicate. It causes all kinds of genetic problems. It increases your rate of developing cancer, right? It creates a lot of birth defects. It destroys the reproductive system. It causes it can cause irreversible defects in the brain. Uh, it destroys the plant life's ability to replicate as well. Not just not it doesn't just kill the plant life outright, but it also messes up the plant's ability to replicate. This is what we've seen in Vietnam when we were spraying all that Agent Orange all over the place. Right, you had a lot of problems with the plants. You had a lot of problems with the people. Right, Agent Orange was a dioxin. Okay, and dioxins are produced by the tons, plural, every day by incinerators, by massive incinerators that incinerate municipal waste, that incinerate industrial waste, incinerate hospital waste, and things like that, right? And they got to do something with the dioxin. But dioxin's also released when you get like facilities that have a lot of plastic in them burning, right? Especially in a place like Kissimmee, Florida, which is sitting right on top of a freshwater reserve, right? Kissimmee is sitting on top of a lot of fresh water, right? And the winds are blowing north into Orlando right now, and so when the rain or when the environment is exposed to all of that, it would be called like they're dust particles, but in when we're talking about rain coming down that is attached to condensation nuclei like dioxins and coming back down on the ground, there's a massive potential increase in poisoning the fresh water right there, right, in that area. And destroying a lot of the animals and the plants. So, in order for rain clouds to develop, they need condensation nuclei, right? And that's just it. Basically, it's just a piece of dust that the moisture will grab onto and get heavy enough to fall down, right? And so if it's condensing on a piece of dust that is toxic, like plastics, soot going up in the air, and when it comes down, the things that are going to be affected, obviously, going to be your animals, fish, wildlife, and the plants, right? And when the plants are exposed to the dioxin, when the animals are exposed to dioxin, they're going to have reproductive problems. All of them will have reproductive problems. And then if Nestle bottles the water from those, springs, then people, if they don't get those toxins out, people are going to drink those toxins, going to have problems. These things are talked about in the Bible. Wormwood is talked about in the Bible. 1/3 of the fresh water all over the world is going to be turned bitter, and people are going to die from it. Right? So, keeping an eye on these things is of utmost importance. Why? because you can't go more than 3 days without water, right? And this is why I talk about water preps all the time on my channel. Water preps, number one prepping advice I always give to my audience members, right? If you're going to prep for anything, prep your water, right? Prep for not being able to get water, right? Because if you don't already know how to get dioxins out of your water, right, and all of the water that is in your area is contaminated with dioxins, what are you going to do, right? Now, if you go back on my channel and you look at some of the videos that I have published several years ago, you'll see how you can get dioxins and certain toxic chemicals out of your water. As far as I'm concerned, the best filter for that kind of stuff is going to be activated carbon. That's just for like a one size fits all thing, but it's not going to get everything out. It's not. Reverse osmosis will get the dioxins out, but then you've got the wastewater that you've got to deal with. What are you going to do with all that wastewater that is full of dioxins, right? You want to ozonate that. And I talk about this in my other videos. You go check out my video that says something like preppers get ready for contaminated water, right? I go into all of the things you can do to treat your water with that has dioxin in it, right? You can ozonate the water. You can put ethanol in the water, like Everclear, and then let it sit there and evaporate out. You can filter it through certain types of activated carbon. You can, like I said just a minute ago, you can use reverse osmosis. Distilling your water is not going to work in this instance because dioxin is a volatile chemical. So if you distill the water and you don't have a carbon filter at the end, it's just going to go back into your water, right? You're gonna be putting it through a cycle. It's just going to go right back in your water. It's not going to get out. UV radiation gets it out or destroys it, breaks it down. And then, if you're worried about your food being contaminated with dioxins, you can use a marinade that is alcohol, like a beer batter, right? Ethanol destroys dioxin. So, that's why I say, like, if you prepare some of your foods, like, with beer batter, that will help to break it down. If you have an ozone generator, you can wash your food in ozonated water to help break down some of the dioxins, and that'll also help break down quite a few other chemicals that might be in your food. But if this is sabotage, then these topics are really important to talk about and to consider right now, especially for the prepping community. Let me read the comments right now. Florida is one big water filter. Yeah, I definitely say so. The fountain of youth was thought to be here. It's a treasure, just like a Great Lake. Yep. Will Berkey black filter work? Tab. Yeah, the Berkey black carbon activated carbon filter is definitely highly recommended. The activated carbons gets out a lot of toxins and things that even reverse osmosis can't get rid of. So that's why I recommend the activated carbon, especially the Berkey, because they do a very good job. Now, it's not going to get everything out, but it's going to do a really good overall job at getting most stuff out. So if you have one of those, you'll be better off. The thing is that I recommend is that once the filter has reached its end of life, take the carbon filter out and take the plastic off of it, and put the carbon inside the microwave and microwave the heck out of that thing before you dispose of it, because microwave radiation has also been shown to break down dioxins, PCBs, and toxic chemicals. So if before you put that carbon element back out into the environment, you want to do what you can to help break down some of those dioxins, PCBs, furans, and stuff like that. Underground springs are testing positive with glyphosate here in Tennessee. I believe that. Because glyphosate and dioxins, they don't break down rapidly, and if they continue to leach in the ground, then over time, then yeah, it's going to get in the spring water. And that's why I said, Nestle. I think it's Nestle has their bottling facility in Kissimmee, and so that spring water that a lot of people drink from that area might not exactly be that great. So you might want to check that. Let's see what other people are saying. What about the filter system for a fish aquarium? Yeah, most of those filter systems are activated carbon, but I wouldn't rely on that. Usually, it's just granules. Now, maybe if you let it filter through for an extended period of time, those granules would, continue to absorb more and more of those chemicals, but I wouldn't rely on it as much as like a Berkey. I have several extra filters, but not the black one. I just ordered the black one. I live in Ohio, a little little late, but I have hundreds of gallons of stored water until it gets here. That's perfect, Tab. That's perfect. If you have more than 100 gallons of water, that'll at least give you enough time to get your preps in order for the situation that's at hand, right? Because now, and this is a perfect example of what I talk about, right? Is storing water, right? Because you don't, right now that you're relying on your preps, your water preps that you have prepared before this event, right? You don't have to respond to the event right away, right? You're relying on your fresh water that you have saved, that you have stored, right? And this is giving you time to perfect your response to this event. And that is why I adamantly say to my audience, prepare for water contamination. Part of preparing for water contamination is storing fresh water, right? We have 1,000-gallon tank in my backyard for stuff like this, right? I practice what I preach here. I don't just say go out and get containers for your water. I have containers for my water. And I tell you guys to do the same because I believe these things are going to happen. The Bible is very clear that these things are going to happen. And 1/3 of the world's fresh water is going to get destroyed. It's going to turn bitter, right? So if I believe that, right? If I believe that and I see these things happening and I don't warn you, then I will have to answer for that, right? That's why I'm on here. That's why I'm talking about these things, right? Because I believe they're going to happen. And look, they're happening, right? Right? We're seeing in East Palestine what's happening to the water. Thousands of fish are dead, right? Thousands of aquatic life has been lost already, right? These toxic chemicals have been released into the sky, and what goes up must come down. And when it comes down, it's going to destroy the environment that it comes down onto, right? So keep these things in mind and prep for them. There's no reason that any of my audience shouldn't be prepared for something like this. I talk about this a lot. And chances are, if you are here on my channel, you are here because of Greg Allison, right? And Greg talks about this stuff all the time too, right? So if you haven't already gotten your water preps in order, right, and you're not currently in one of these areas that are affected, it would behoove you, right, to get your preps in order. And you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to get your preps in order. I talked on my last video about one of the ways you can get your water preps in order for less than $100, right? Firehouse Subs sells food grade used pickle buckets for $3 each. Comes with a lid. It comes with a lid and everything. And it's perfect for your water preps. It's perfect, right? Each one's 5 gallons. If you just had and all the money that you give them for that pickle bucket, it goes to, if I'm not mistaken, goes to your local fire department too. So it's a donation that you're essentially giving them when you buy those pickle buckets, right? So if you bought 20 of those pickle buckets, right, that's $60 because they're $3 a piece, right? 20 times 5 because they each hold 5 gallons. That's 100 gallons, right? Now, water tanks, they used to cost, when I bought my water tank, 1,000 gallons was, I think it was $5.99 that we paid for our water tank. Okay. Now it's like $1.50 a gallon in the areas that I'm seeing. Like we go shopping around. Like I look for deals on water tanks, right? We're in El Paso and I can't find a water tank that is less than $1.25 a gallon, So for like a 500-gallon tank, you're looking at, $600-700, depending on if it's black or if it's white. The clear ones are not what you want because algae grows in them real easy. You want the black ones. You don't want sunlight to get in there, right? And so get one that's blacked out, or if you can't get one that's blacked out, then paint it once you get it. I know a lot of people that get the white ones and then they paint them. So it's not something you can't do. But yeah, and then speaking of the chickens, with the chicken feed. Oh my goodness, I got friends here in El Paso that have lost their chickens, right? Most of them would get their chicken feed from Tractor Supply. They're losing chickens. They're not able to get eggs now. They're not. And then some of my friends, because see, I deal with a lot of people on Craigslist, right? We trade birds, right? I sell birds. I sell chicks, and I buy chicks from other people. We swap roosters and stuff. And the people that I know, they're having problems incubating their eggs after after they've been using that Tractor Supply feed. So these issues are far reaching, right? And you've got Bill Gates, which has been investing in these fake egg companies, right? He also owns a lot of the farmland that is used to produce, like Producer's Pride laying pellets. So, there's a conflict of interest right there, right? Mr. GMO himself, Mr. World Economic Forum and Frankenfood himself, Bill Gates. He's got his hands in everything, doesn't he? And now he's got his AI that he rolled out the other day. And I don't know if you heard about his artificial intelligence. It threatened somebody that was talking to it. It threatened them with, deadly force. and it had a mental breakdown. It had an existential crisis in one of the conversations that was posted online. You guys got to go look that up. It's nuts, man. Dude, you don't want to deal with this artificial intelligence stuff, man. It might just put a hit out on you using Bitcoin. It's pretty nuts. But yeah, things are getting crazy. We really got to watch out for contaminated food, contaminated water, and if you guys don't have those preps in order, now's the time to get them squared away. And I would recommend that you get some kind of birds, egg laying birds, whether it be chickens, quail, heck, ducks, anything, and come up with a way to keep them fed without having to rely on bird feed. You know, you can get a lot of the ingredients that's needed for that. You can get those ingredients by themselves. Corn, millet, sorghum, oats, cracked oats, barley, things like that, and a lot of bugs. There are ways that you can attract bugs into the cage so that they are always having a fresh supply of bugs for protein. Um, and if all the meat that is at the grocery store, if it's all made out of bugs in the future, then just bring it home to the chickens. If you think chickens are too big, too much of a mess, or too expensive, look at bantams. If you've never heard of a bantam chicken, they're about half the size of a normal chicken, but the eggs that they lay are about 3/5 the size of a normal egg. Matter of fact, let me show you. I've actually got some chicks here, or some eggs here in the incubator right now. Let me show you my incubator real quick. Check that out. So that is my chick. That is my incubator, and I've got quite a few of them in there right now. I actually have some bantam eggs, and I'll show those to you in just a second. But I've got a couple chicks down in there. I don't use a lamp. I don't use a light. I use a heating pad. Right. I think I got 9 of them in there right now, and they just hatched. They're like less than 2 days old. But let's see. I'll show you the size difference between a normal chicken egg and a bantam egg. So hold on. Let me take this out here. So these are some of the eggs that I got in there. Right. As you can see, it's loaded. Right. Loaded. So just by looking, can you tell the difference? Which ones are the bantam eggs and which ones are the normal chicken eggs? Right. Bantams only need about a pound, maybe 2 pounds of food every month, right? And they drop one of these eggs, every other day. Look at that. Look at the size of that. Look at the size of a bantam egg. Now, I'll compare it with a normal egg, this one right here, right? You guys see that? This one, normal size. This one, bantam size. See that? Bantams, they're, if you live in an apartment, you live in the city, and you don't have the space outside to have chickens. Maybe think about getting a cage. Think about getting a cage and maybe putting a drop pan underneath of it. You can get a 2 foot by 3 foot pan at like AutoZone, like an oil pan at AutoZone for like $10. Put it under your cage and just catch all the droppings. It's pretty easy, pretty simple. The only thing really that you got to worry about if you're gonna have birds inside is the light. Make sure that you have enough light on them. And molting can be a problem, but you can vacuum that stuff up. It's not really that big of a deal. But we're going into a time when you won't be able to get this kind of stuff anymore. You're not going to be able to get, or at least not for the price that it used to be. So, like, let me give you an example. Let's see. Here, we just got this rice. We actually just got this rice like yesterday. We eat this rice every day. Okay, my family. That's why we prep with this. That's why we get this. right? We eat it every day. We prep with what we eat, right? In 2019, this rice right here was 19.99 for a 40-pound bag. All right, it was 19.99 for a 40-pound bag of this. Guess how much a 40-pound bag is now? We just went and bought one. Give me your best guess. I'm going to look at the comments. How much do you think it was? We bought one yesterday. It was $59.99. $59.99. It has gone up from 19.99 to $59.99 in the matter of less than 3.5 years. So, yes, prep your food. Yes, prep, as Greg says, prep your nugs. Get your nugs in order and your kibbles for your nugs, if you know what I'm talking about. So, yes, get that prepped and squared away. But as you could see from Tab's benefiting from her preps, right? Get your water in order, right? Tab is benefiting big time because she has hundreds of gallons of water prepped, because she took the initiative before this environmental disaster in Ohio, right? And so now she can take advantage of that. And she can give herself some time, some critical time, which is necessary to save up a little bit more money to get the proper types of filter to filter out these toxic chemicals from the water, from her water source, right? So good on you, Tab. Good on you, Tab. Yeah, keep doing what you're doing. But this video, I wanted this video to be about the possibility of Iran launching a sabotage style of attack on the United States, right? So let's summarize quickly about the things that have happened inside the United States, okay? Right? Southern border being swarmed, right? That's number one. Right? You had Colonial Pipeline burst open last month. Keystone XL pipeline burst open last month, right? Big deals, okay? Several train derailments, right? Several. All of these chemical spills. Several agricultural production facilities caught on fire last month and this month, right? Food prices going up. Saudi Arabia is now accepting the yuan for oil and the ruble, the Indian currency, right? So the dollar's reserve status is going away. It's going away, and you're seeing food prices increase, like on rice, from $20 for 40 pounds to $60 for 40 pounds. Chemical spills all over the place. We've also had over 100 attacks on our substations just this year alone. And now Iran is on our doorstep at Venezuela, with Venezuela. They've got economic agreements with Venezuela to develop their oil fields and to operate those oil fields, right? Iran has these Shahed drones that are capable of going 2,000 kilometers. They have an effective range of 2,000 kilometers, right? So from Venezuela to New York City is about 2,000 kilometers. A little bit more, I think. A little bit more than 2,000 kilometers. So from the coastline of Venezuela, they could definitely launch major attacks on the United States. So these are things to watch out for, guys. Hostilities are definitely ramping up. Iran was in Lebanon just yesterday, talking with the leader of Hamas, and they're selling those kamikaze drones to a lot of people, Russia included. So let's go ahead and get to the comments here real quick. I bought the 55-gallon drums on Facebook Marketplace for $20 each last year. That's cool. Good job, Tab. I'm gonna go get a couple tomorrow up in Alamogordo, but I'm gonna use those for burn barrels. I'm not using them for water. Sure seems like they're shutting down our supply chains. I would say so. New days, old ways. That's why I would say, if you don't already have a means of production, you need to come up with something. And I've always advocated guerrilla gardening. The two plants that I recommend everybody seed their local area with is amaranth and mustard greens. Amaranth grows in the summer in all types of soil. It's very prevalent. It spreads rapidly. And same with mustard. Mustard grows during the winter and spring. So, when the amaranth isn't up, the mustard will be up, right? So you'll have some fresh greens all year round if you guerrilla garden with those two alone, right? And both of those can be used for like chicken feed or rabbit feed or quail or whatever. So if you're into guerrilla gardening, I recommend you get the amaranth seeds, you get the mustard seeds, and those are also great seeds for microgreens too. So if you know about microgreens, it's a double, two birds with one stone right there. If you go and you get a couple pounds of amaranth and you get a couple pounds of mustard, if you need the microgreens, you've got the seeds there for the microgreens. And if you want to do some guerrilla gardening in your area, those are the two, in my humble opinion, perfect plants, because all you got to do is just throw those seeds on the ground and they will pop up. They will pop up. It's that simple. So let's see. Okay, let's see. Being destroyed from the inside. Sold out politicians. I agree, James. I agree. All right, let's see. I could give all the scriptures towards what's happening to America, the daughter of Babylon. I believe you could, Watchman. I believe you could. Jeremiah 51:2. Deuteronomy 28 says it all. Blessings and curses. That's right. Deuteronomy 28:28. Madness, blindness, and confusion of mind. Yeah, everybody's gone woke. Everybody's gone woke. Deuteronomy 28:62, the Jews in World War II. I'll have to take a look at that. I haven't looked at that one, Watchman. The result of not heeding the instructions given to man. You're absolutely right. I definitely agree with that, James. The plastic white 15-gallon jugs that help bleach, that hold bleach, I think is what you meant, can be used for gasoline. Oh, okay, yeah. For gasoline, I think you need high density polyethylene. You might want to double check on that, but yeah. God blessed me with all types of wild edibles on my 55 acres. Oh, wow. 55 acres is quite a bit of land. I'd definitely be interested in seeing what you got there, what kind of products you could come up with. Maybe we could get some kind of separate economy going here. I'm putting together a donkey train. I'm training my donkeys to walk in a train so that I can transport products from one town to another on my donkeys. So if you're anywhere near me, you you know, might see my train coming through. And when I say train, I mean donkey train. So remember that lamb's quarters can be dried and ground. Makes a good salt substitute. Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, out here in the semi-arid regions of the United States, we have a plant called saltbush, and saltbush has adequate amounts of protein for quail and for chickens. And so, I didn't exactly, I don't know if any of you guys caught my video a couple days ago about the chicken pellets that I am making now. Saltbush is one of the ingredients in the pellets. I'll just put it out there. I'm not going into all of the ingredients in the pellets because that's I've been putting some R&D, some research and development in that on my own. But yeah, if you haven't already seen that video, go check that video out. Yes, I'm making my own chicken feed pellets, and my chickens love them. My quail loved them, but I sold all my quail, got rid of my quail, and so now the cages that my quail were in are going to be full of bantam chickens. So I'm going to have several bantam chickens. So let's see. Let's get back to the comments here. Good to know about the lamb's quarter. I'd say. New days, old ways. I have an apple grove 200 foot on a trout brook. I'm looking for people to partner with in raising beef cattle. I'm in northern Maine, 2 miles from the Canadian border. Wow, that's fantastic. New days, old ways. I hope you're successful in getting what you want there. That's quite a big resource there. So make sure that you have it well defended, because what is highly probable, if the dollar tanks in value, you're going to have a lot of the city folks coming out into your area to try to take what you got. They're going to be really hungry. They're going to be armed, and there's going to be a lot of them. So definitely, prepare for that. Make sure you're not alone. I've been reading SHTF scenarios for a very long time. One of my favorite books on that topic is right here. Let me show you. Let me get it real quick. It's an old book. It was written in German, but it was translated by what's the guy's name? The guy that translated this from German is called Oliver Coburn. It's written by Cord Christian Tropst. It's called The Art of Survival. Highly recommend this book. This book has countless stories in it regarding people who have experienced, we'll just say SHTF scenarios, how they survived or why they did not survive. Right. Most of the stories have to do with water, and that's one of the main reasons why I harp on squaring away your water first. But there are a lot of stories in that book that talk about people going insane because they're by themselves when it hits the fan, right? So the reason I was saying that is, because you've got the resources you've got, make sure you're not alone. Make sure you're not alone. It's not impossible to do it on your own, but it is very near impossible to do it on your own. You need to be with other people that are like-minded, right, and that are on the same page. So definitely, I wish you the best of luck, and I truly do hope that you get what you want there. Let me before I close out, let me recommend another book. Let me look real quick here on my bookshelf. This one. This is a good one. This is a fiction, right? This is a fiction story, but it takes place in the 19th century, and it goes into a lot of the ways of life on the frontier, right? And it's a very good overall book to read for people that are prepping. It's called Singing Wheels. It's called Singing Wheels, right? Harper and Row. It's a story about a young boy that goes out west, right? From, if I remember correctly, he was from Pennsylvania, and it describes what life was like in the 1800s, starting a town from scratch. His father started a lumber mill and a grain mill, and everybody flocked around because of the lumber mill and the grain mill. And they describe what daily life was like in that town, and it's a very eye-opening book, right? And it tells you a lot of things that we have lost. It explains a lot of things that we have lost in our society, that are critical to know, right, about how life was like pre-electricity, right, prior to the engine, prior to the light bulb. So those two books are very, very good to read, especially if you're just getting into prepping. Singing Wheels and The Art of Survival. But anyways, guys, just wanted to make this quick. Hasn't really been quick, but I just wanted to make this live stream. Iran is ramping up their attacks against us in Syria. They're right on our doorstep in Venezuela. They're there right now. Okay. And they've got the capability to launch these suicide drones against us. And they have the sleeper cells in our nation right now. They've already said it, right? And they threaten to use them. And our critical infrastructure is being sabotaged. Our agricultural system is obviously being sabotaged. And our transportation systems seem to be getting sabotaged. It's not just the trains either. It's also things at the airports, air traffic control. So anyways, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Before you leave, please hit that thumbs up. Leave a comment in the comment section. And you want to buy me a coffee, I got a link in the About section of my YouTube channel for that. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And as always, don't forget, help out your neighbors. Bye.